Hello everyone, and welcome to the next phase of auto-enrollment where we're live and we're actually making payments. You may have noticed on your bank account this new payment, National Auto it said, and I'm wondering who went to a garage and forgot to give me the receipt. But this is actually when I clicked on more information, National Automatic Retirement Savings. So this is NERSA. And what they're doing, which I hadn't expected. I thought we had time for this implementation because I thought it would be like revenue where they would get paid once a month, but they are taking their payment every single pay period. That means if you're on weekly payroll like we are, this money is coming out of your payroll every single week. So some of you have already had 3 payments made to NERSA. So we're going to look at how to implement that in your SortMyBooks. And I've just done a disclaimer here, and you can see it's not small print, this is big print, because I'm not an accountant, I'm not your accountant. This is my interpretation of how this should work. It may not be what your accountant agrees with, so by all means, please check with them and make sure they're happy with how you're doing it. There are 3 things that we need to put into SortMyBooks for this implementation that I'm recommending. We need a new nominal in the profit and loss. That's to show the additional expense for the employer. We need a new nominal on the balance sheet, and that's to track the money we're going to be paying to NERSA. And we need to create a new payee for NERSA with the default balance sheet nominal so that I can also show you how to record those payments in when they come on your bank. So what we're going to cover in this is how to set up these 3 things. We're going to look at a sample payroll report. We're going to do a payroll journal, including the auto-enrollment. And you can do those once a month or you can do them every pay period. That's depending on your personal preference. And then we're going to look at when you see the payment on your bank, what do you do with that payment? So we're going to cover all of that. So that's a lot to go through, so I'll get going. Our first step, we're going to Tools and we're going to Nominals. And we're looking at the Profit and Loss section. Here's where I put it, down here under Other. I clicked on Other and I'm putting in Autoenrol ER for employer. I guess, or I could do Autoenrol ER cost. I'm not sure. Something that identifies it as Autoenrol for anyone that needs to know that, like your accountant and yourself. So that's our first one. And that is going, it's important it goes in the expense part. It goes somewhere on your profit and loss. I put it down here in Other. I put Autoenrol ER cost. I also have pension cost in this section. That's where I've put it. The next one we want to do is Tools and Nominals, and we're going to the balance sheet. And we're scrolling down to Current Liabilities, and I put it here in the Payroll section. Click on New, and I'm calling it Autoenrol Control. Click OK on that. Now that I've done my auto-enroll control on the balance sheet, I can set up NERSA as my supplier. So I'm coming here. Have I done NERSA already? Okay, so I'm creating NERSA. I'm making, this is important, payee type Other. And then your default nominal is not the profit and loss. We're going to do that on the journal. It's this, the balance sheet one. So your auto-enroll control, current liability, that's what your default nominal is going to be. So NERSA, type Other, default nominal, auto-enroll control. Okay, and now next we're ready to go and do our payroll journal. I'm just going to give you a quick look here. I have a sample payroll report where I've redacted anything personal. And this is a nice report. This came from, I think the accountant that did this payroll is using Thesaurus or Bright, one of those. And you see it's very clearly labeled here. It's got auto-enroll the employee portion and auto-enroll ER, the employer's portion. And in the journal, I click on my journal, and what I've done is I've done the standard part of the journal. I've created the gross pay, the employer PRSI, our net wages, and our PAYE, so the two balance sheet payments and the profit and loss portions. So now I've got to add the auto-enroll section. I'm doing this so the first thing I want to do is show that expense on our profit and loss. So I'm going to debit nominal other, and remember, once you've set this journal up once, you can duplicate it after that to make it easier and just change any numbers. So we're going to do other auto-enroll ER cost over here in my description, auto-enroll ER. Remember, we only need to do the employer cost because the employee is paying the other part of it from their net wages. So the only cost to us as the employer is our portion of it. And our ER is here, we see 76.59. So I put that in there, 76.59. Now that is going to go to my profit and loss. So our profit and loss now has full cost of the gross pay, the employer's PRSI, and also the new cost to us, which is the auto-enrollment cost. For this, we need to record what NERSA, I keep trying to call them revenue, what NERSA is going to take from us. That is going to be, so we're going to payroll, auto-enroll control. Now, I could just add the two numbers together, but for transparency, I'm going to do them as two separate lines. So we're putting in, firstly, the employer's portion, which is 76.59. And then I'm adding another line, auto-enroll control, and it is auto-enroll EE, because we're having to deduct this amount from our employees and we're going to be paying it to NERSA. And if you'll see, my journal is unbalanced. That's because we've got one more entry to do. But yes, you could by all means add these together and do one line entry and just call it Autoenrol EE in the description, Autoenrol EE plus ER. I did them separately just to be very clear on the process. So the next thing we need to do is our wages control. This amount includes, that's our net pay on our report. But if you look on this report, this is why I quite like this report, the payment is different from the net pay, and it's different by the amount of the auto-enrollment, the employees portion. So we need to reflect that on here, because otherwise over time, our wages control, when we go to pay our wages, there'll be money sitting in the wages control as if we've underpaid the staff, which we haven't. It's that we've had to pay that money to NERSA. So we're going to debit the wages control by the auto-enroll EE amount. And I put that in there, 76.59. And now our journal is balanced here again. So that's our payroll journal. The next thing we're going to look at is, what do we do when we see the payment on our bank statement? Here's one I faked up earlier. And here's my national auto. So the first thing you can do is set alias. And set alias, and it looks like it's the same every week, every pay period. I set it up as nurse on mine and it worked fine. And here's the amount we paid them. So as you can see, that's our portion plus the employee's portion. And we click on match, and down here, nurse other, and that's going to the auto enroll control. Click OK, and that's that done. And we're going to have a quick look now at the reports. Okay, I've come into our profit and loss report. Click apply on here, and we'll scroll down and see our auto enroll cost. There we can see that's how much it cost us. So from our payroll report, this is the employer's portion. So we can see that on our profit and loss. Let's have a look at our balance sheet. If we look at our balance sheet, we go to wages control. It's at 0. I'm just going to click to show you what the entries in wages control are. The first two are from our journal, the journal showing the employee's contribution. This is what the total net pay should be. And then this is what we actually paid. This is miscellaneous payment from our bank account. Now I've made it easy. I've done one lump payment, whereas you likely have lots of individual payments to all your employees. But the point is, once you've paid them, once you've deducted their auto enrollment from their pay in the journal, then that should net down to 0. The other one we want to look at is the auto enroll control. If we click on that, we see the same thing. We see from the journal the two amounts that we know make up the auto enrollment payment, and then here is the payment offsetting that, so it nets to 0. Give a quick look at these once you've done your entries to make sure they're making sense to you. So that's it for Auto Enroll, this latest installment. There's probably going to be others, but I hope this is all good for now and gets you through January and gets you through your payroll and your bank recs.